everyone. I'm just going to go through this Graflex that I've recently completed. This is done in the style of The Force Awakens / The Last Jedi. It is installed with Proffie V2.2. So I wanted it to be as screen accurate as possible. With that in mind, everything that you see from the top down to here is from the Graflex shop, but the lower end is from Sabers, and I'll explain the reason for that in a minute. So yeah, basically just going through the top. Bunny ears, red button. This is the newer one from TGS with the kind of the more brushed finish. It's more accurate. Beer tab, pins, contacts, glass eye. Of course, everything up here is TGS in this top part. And this is the Gen 2, but it's the from the previous run from 2019. I don't have one of his current runs, but from the top end is very, very similar. The only difference is, as far as I know, is that the red button and the older ones, or on this one, would have been a shinier kind of chrome finish. But I got the new red button from him, which looks a bit more accurate. The glass eye has been sanded, obviously. It's been sanded down to show that brass underneath, and it's been lightly weathered, just so it looks a little bit more like the Force Awakens version. And it's also used as blade retention. The pins are smooth, and they're also the aged variety that they sell at TGS, so it's a little bit more weathered. I also did a little bit of weathering here. I sanded this beer tab rivet down to show the brass underneath, because there's reference pictures showing that it doesn't look exactly like that, but it's close enough. Over here we have a blade plug, standard blade plug from Sabers. Again, I weathered that slightly so it's not so clean. It looks a little bit more tarnished and matches a little bit the glass eye and the pins. So yeah, that's it for the top half. Underneath here, the auxiliary switch. The reason it's loose, this side switch, is because it's a magnet underneath, a tactile switch, a magnetic one, which is the auxiliary button. Clamp is also TGS. It's covered with the WannaWanga clamp cover, so no stamping. The lever is a new updated one from TGS with a brushed finish, which looks a little bit more accurate. This is the older one. I'm going to show you just by comparison. This is the older lever. It's just a little bit more chrome and shiny compared. I'll try to put them side by side. So you can see the one I'm holding in front here is a current one. And it's a little bit more dull, and that looks more accurate to a vintage. That this one is a little bit too shiny. My favorite clamp cards for the TFA is from Skywampa, his Etsy store in the UK. It's a very nice translucent background with the thin gold traces there that match the rest of these shades of brass. He's got two varieties. He's got a slightly kind of flatter finish called the satin, and he's got a more reflective variety like this. Both are really, really beautiful. I think the satin one is more accurate, but it depends on the shot. It's hard to tell how to compare them. But the top one here definitely looks more like flat on the gold traces. This one is more like mirrored. They're both gorgeous, really. I believe that this is the more accurate one, but I'm not 100% sure. What else is there to say about the top end? Nothing much, really. Lower end, yeah, Sabers. I'll get to that in a minute. The grips are WannaWanga, the resin grips, and these are updated. Roy recently did an update on the TFA grips in 2022, so that they're a slightly shorter length than the previous run, because I'm sorry, they're a little bit taller. I said that the other way around. So the gap between the end of the grip and the clamp is by just this much. Compared to the previous one, this is also the WannaWanga resin, but this is the previous one. I mean, that gap is just massive there. So this may be a more accurate appearance for the Mars box variety of the TFA Hero, but for the belt hanger that's in the rest of the scenes, or the official one, it shouldn't be that big of a gap. So that's more accurate. And this is why Roy redesigned these TFA grips. So I bought the new ones for this one. The rivets are also from WannaWanga. They come with the grips, I believe. I cut them down and glued them on top. And underneath those mandrel holes, I also drilled 6 small holes into the body of the lower, just to allow a little bit of sound venting, because the sound venting on Graflex replicas is just so poor. They're just so quiet. So I did that. Down here we have the Kobold assembly, and that's a TFA version with the D-ring. These two are not rivets. They are rivet screws from Skywampa, which are secured from the inside. So they're threaded and they're secured on the inside with a nut. So they're easier to, you don't need to pop them in like rivets. And the advantage is they've got a nice kind of, they're vented basically. So the sound comes out really nicely through these two. They are a little bit too rounded as compared to rivets, so they're not 100% accurate in appearance, but they are close enough to work on an installed one. All the alignments is done properly with the grip guides, so that we've got the Kobold and the D-ring here with the rivets, that grip on the end, the other grip directly opposite, and these two kind of crisscrossing like that. Obviously, on the other end, it's right in the middle of the clamp, right there. So that's the accurate orientation of the grips on the TFA, which is very similar to the ESB version. The pommel is covered with a foil tape, just some aluminium sticky foil tape. And there's a little chip here, which I'll try to show. Yeah, you might just see it just under there, just under that part of the D-ring. I'll try to focus on it or zoom in. Yeah, you can see there's like a little chip, and that is accurate. And credit to that little thing goes to Nate from Iron Destiny Props. I had no idea about this, but Nate's attention to detail is insane. So I saw this in one of his builds, that there should be a little bit of a chip under that corner there. So I replicated the same on my Saber. And now I'll get to why this lower end is a KR Sabers as opposed to just having a full TGS flash. Well, the reason is, in one of the cons, the TFA prop was displayed like this. And, sharp-eyed fans, took really good pictures of it, actually zoomed into this bit here, and they saw some letters stamped underneath here. And if you look closely, or is it this way around? I think it's, yeah, it's this way, from the opposite end, sorry. So if you look closely, you'll see the 3 letters R-E-D. I'll try to focus on them. You can just barely make out the letters R-E-D there. And that's from the word manufactured. Now there's 3 Graflex varieties, Folmer with patent number, and ink. And only the ink says manufactured. So the conclusion was that at least the lower half of the TFA prop was an ink Graflex. So that brings you to, none of this is vintage, obviously, these are all replicas. The reason I did not use the lower end from TGS is because at the time of me building this, all their lowers were of the Folmer variety, so it wouldn't have that RED stamp, which say something else, made by Graflex or the Folmer group, etc. So it wouldn't have those letters, and I wanted it to be 100% accurate. I wanted it to be to match that reference picture that I saw. So I wanted an ink style replica bottom, and I found, luckily, here in the UK, KR Sabers actually sells these Graflex lowers individually for about £40, and it has the ink stamping, so it was perfect. So I purchased one of them and I used it, and then I aligned it so that the RED lines up with the clamp, and I put my Kobold just on it like that, and I made a little bit of a cut inside just to allow some sound venting. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the accuracy I've achieved with this. As the previous one, a previous effort, this is my older one. This is a Graflex 2.0 or 2.5, which is also very, very accurate. It's just got a different soundboard. It's got CFX, that one has a Proffie, but some slight inaccuracy with it. Obviously it has a clamp screw, that's unavoidable in these ones. The shorter grips, obviously the alignment, you can't really do anything about the RED with these because there's no stamping whatsoever. It's a different pommel design. Just very, very minor things, really nothing that you would notice immediately. Right, let's take this apart and just show you on the inside what it looks like. So just undo the clamp. So also to have it lined up, because it wouldn't, the letters there, the RED that I show you, it wouldn't line up first, so I had to cut slightly longer on either side just so that when I lock it, it lines up perfectly. Now from the inside, so you can see the two Skywampa screw rivets there. They're fastened by nuts, and just behind them there is just a little cut I made into the pommel for a little bit more sound venting. And then I'm not sure you're going to see it, but there's also 6 small holes on the sides. I'm going to try my best to focus it. Nope. Sorry, this is quite hard to see, but there are 6 holes where the grips go, where the rivets, these rivets are on the inside. There are 6 drilled holes, but they're fairly small, and with this lighting, I'm not sure you'll be able to see it. Coming back here, clamp card out, take out the clamp. And that shows us the chassis. This is a Goth 3D chassis from KR Sabers. 18650 removable battery, keep power. This nice decal on it is from Skywampa. Kill switch. There's your Proffie board, the SD card. This is a new speaker from KR Sabers. It's 31 millimeters. 3 watts. It's got a very good bass. The install was done by Rob Peck. Okay, to remove the chassis, we have to undo the glass eye and the red button a little bit. Just loosen them up. So that reveals the power switch underneath. And we take off that bit. That's easily removable. The side switch there, it's magnetic underneath. And just take off the glass eye. I'll just show you another thing. Glass eye has this extra little 3D printed piece of plastic, which I bought from East Coast Sabers from their Shapeway store. It's a really cool mod. You just glue it on. Actually, this one is loose, but I think I probably will glue it because it keeps falling out. But it just adds a little bit of length to this so that it does better blade retention. Otherwise, this doesn't go in far enough to hold the blade on its own. And it still allows for a nice shine through, so that's really cool. Okay, with the glass eye out and the red button loosened, we can gently pull this out. Okay. So on the top here we've got a Solos hold V2 Deluxe blade holder for Graflex. This takes a 7/8 inch blade. And there's a blade plug. That's a blade plug from Sabers. The top half of the blade holder stays secured in with these with the set screw and the pins. So it just slots, the rest of it slots inside it. That's the main power switch. That's the auxiliary where the magnetic slide switch goes. Yeah, that's it. Let's give it a go.
You have too much of your father's heart in you.
Okay, so putting it back together. Okay, I've paused the video while I put everything back together. So the kill switch is now on. So you can see through the blade plug and also through here, through the glass side, there's quite a nice shine through. And this is where you get the sound from, mostly from here and from these 6 holes. It's not terribly loud, but it's sort of loud enough.
The last Skywalker, Empress.
Rey Skywalker.
The one. Darth Sidious.
There's lots of fonts on this. There's about 40 or 50 sound fonts. It's got a really nice deep bass though, this speaker. Especially for those dark side fonts.
Master Qui-Gon. There's always a bigger fish.
And that's it. That's my new Proffie installed TFA Graflex from TGS/KR Sabers with some accuracy mods, obviously conversion parts from WannaWanga, Skywampa, etc. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Any questions or feedback, please let me know, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.